by the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball. Game 7 Baseball? He's got a better lower range than I do. See, that worked, didn't it, bro?
I'm not going to tell you what I did in college. I was a phone marketer.
Oh, there you go. That works. Yeah, I believe that. As always, Dave Penning from Game 7 Baseball joining us today. We got phone marketing going on. We got everything going on. Dave, how you doing, man?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Winding down the season. We got I love the picks, and we're gonna have some picks showing here through the show, talking from the Ron Walker Memorial Tournament that just happened. Looks like it was a lot of fun out there, Dave. Nice way to remember Ron this year.
Yeah, Mr. Kramer. We had some help with that, Dave and I did. We can't take all the accolades for it. We had some help behind the scenes. So appreciate all you guys who helped contribute to getting Ron's mother out there and her side of the family. So it was greatly appreciated. There was a lot of hard work and effort put into that. And we really appreciate that.
Because she, what Dave's speaking to is, if you weren't there, Ron Walker, who had been a big part of Game 7 Baseball for a lot of years, he passed away in an accident, car accident. Just kind of, it was crazy. But nonetheless, his mother and family were able to come out on Sunday during some of the awards. Which ones did they do, Dave?
It was the 12U at BMAC on Sunday. You know, naturally, here again was the weekend, so it rained. So instead of playing just at BMAC and CNH, we scrambled around and pulled a rabbit out of our hat, I'll say, and relocated to Pacific and Westhoff, so 4 different complexes to accommodate and get everybody's games in, because there were, believe it or not, man, even for that, I call it a small venue for Game 7, but we had teams from 5 different states: Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Indiana, and was that 5? Kansas, I think. So
Kansas.
5 of them. So we wanted to do our best to make sure that they had a place to play. So we called up Sid in Pacific from down south, and he said, "Come on down, it's dry." I said, "Okay." This was at 10 o'clock in the morning. I said, "How about a 12 o'clock start?" Just throwing it out there to him. He goes, "Well, sure." I said, "Okay, we'll be down in 2 hours." So shot the email out to everybody. Everybody was real receptive of it. They went down and played. So was our umpire. So we made it happen.
Do you really want to run tournaments?
I've been rethinking some conversations I've been wanting to have over the last month. That's for sure.
And that's the thing. I love that. You know, your thought process to that, Dave, was it wasn't just about, hey, we want to get, and I know this is what people think. They just want to get the money. No, you had people coming to the tournament from Kansas, Indiana, Kentucky. You know, Illinois might be a little shorter drive. Understand that. But, I mean, that's 5-6 hours around that area. That's not just a short drive. That's thinking about people taking the time to come to your event and really thinking, hey, they drove. We're going to do everything we can to accommodate them a weekend. I love that.
Absolutely. Thing. Yeah, because some of them did take advantage of our Cardinal ticket promo and had a good time at the Cardinal game Friday night. Although I don't think they were. No, they got beat by the Phillies that night. But yeah, a lot of them were in town Friday, so we were going to do everything we could possible to get those guys some games in.
I think that was that Waino game, wasn't it? That he threw 9 innings and it was like a 1-0 loss, something crazy like that. So I'm pretty sure it was a boring game for those kids. But there's only a handful of people that like that 1-0 ball game. I just to add to that weather thing, one of the things that I've noticed in coaching over different softball, baseball, playing in different sanctions and things like that is obviously when I first started, I used to complain about the weather all the time. If it would rain, and they would try to postpone, and then, bang it at, way late in the, evening or, try to keep, keep it moving till Sunday. And I always used to think it's about that money. Then it became one of those things, well, it's about playing. The one thing I will say that I like about what Game 7 has done for our group is that if weather is an issue, they try not to leave you hanging all day long, so that you can, if they need to bang it, they bang it early. It happened to us a couple weeks ago when we were in the World Series. We were one of the groups that got banged for that tournament. So it was in enough time that we could still have enough fun for the rest of that day and weekend, instead of just trying to wait till 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, to get that hammer. I know it happened on the first day it rained, but I appreciate that more than anything. It's just, let's go ahead and call it early and not, keep waiting on the radar to see if it breaks up. Just let's go ahead and do it. See what we can maximize the fields.
That radar looked pretty ugly too.
That was bad.
That day, I remember staring at some of that. But kudos to the guys, and kudos to the folks for the Pacific, the folks in Pacific. And then so you were in Pacific, you were in Bridgeton, you were in St. Peter's.
CNA, and then Westhoff as well. So, yeah, I'd like to thank Mr. Hooper from GMB for turning us on to some, because he actually had Westhoff over there, and he gave me a call and said, hey, I can get you some field space over here at because it's 60-90 field space on field 4 over there at Westhoff, which is if you guys have never played over there, it's a really nice field.
Yes, it is.
Really
it's
nice.
been a while. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we did with that division, there were 10 teams, and there was too big for one park, so we split them. We had took half of them to CNH and half to Westhoff. So that's how that ended up. And then at the end of the day, if it were to rain again, we had a plan B that we were going to keep Westhoff people there and CNH people where they were, and just split 2 separate tournaments. But we got it in. Mother Nature did hold off for us on Saturday night, Sunday, and we just went ahead with plan A and combined them, took top 5, bottom 5, and split them into gold and silver. It worked out really well.
Very good. Very good. Takeaways from, what you saw there with the folks. We got some pictures that we're going to put up here. But that 12U presentation, that had to have been special.
Yeah, man. It was very sentimental. I mean, Ron was a great, not only a great umpire for us, he was a great friend of ours. And there's guys that come out there and, it is a business, and they do like to earn a check. However, there are a bunch of guys out there that come out for the love of the game, and he was definitely one of those. And just by, I've met his mom in the past, but just by talking to her for the few hours that she showed up there, it's a prime example, man. The apple did not far from the tree here on this, because she reiterated over and over and over how she was an educator, growing up, and, retired from, I think it was Soldan High, where she taught the cheer squad, and they were very competitive. And her husband was one of the top basketball coaches in the Midwest here, Mr. Niels, and they've been acclimated with the youth scene for quite some time. And she was very, very appreciative of what we do, because she knows how hard it is, how much work it is. And it was, she jumped right in there. I think we got a new employee, Brian, for our for our awards presentation. She loved it. She was absolutely great. She jumped right in there, and kudos to the dirtbags and to the grind 12-year-old kids. Man, brought a tear to my eye. They went up and hugged her after each one and said, ma'am, we're sorry for your loss. And, she kind of lost it a few times, but, that's totally understandable. We had a balloon we released some balloons in honor of Ron. We had like 60 balloons, and she let them all go at once. We thought we were going to, do it a couple at a time, but she let the whole thing go. Man, they took off, man. I think it might have carried a small kid away if they would have held on to it.
It kind of reminds you of the movie Up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I'm so glad to hear that. That's the point of all of this. We play baseball. There's competition, the coaches, all the other stuff. But in the end, and I think this is one of the things that I really enjoy about what we do, is we get to reach into the community. We get to talk with the people in the community. We have to remember, there's a lot of things just actually happening in our day-to-day. From, Dave, you get up, you go to work, you're setting up the tournaments, but we have things happening in our lives. We're people, everybody's having things going on that in our day-to-day we don't know, and I think it's really nice when we can reach into the community, remember things, and talk to people as people. And that's one of the things I've always enjoyed about Game 7 baseball. I think you guys do that as well as anybody. And I think that's why with the umpires and the things we've talked about is that genuineness dealing with people. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, it was Mike Kramer, who is a director with us. He was really, really, really close to Ron. Mike worked for a competitor of ours throughout the early stages of the years, and then that company disbanded, and he came on board with us, and Ron was one of his mainstay guys. So he did a really good job in orchestrating, getting the family out there, and some nice little things. Dave and I would have liked to have been there, both of us, but with the rain and everything, we were forced to go separate ways. So I know Mr. Schmidt would have liked to have been there as well, but it was a really cool little ceremony that we had. And I appreciate that they come out, and she brought 2 family members with her brother, and I think it was a cousin or something that came out, and they stayed around for a whole round of baseball, and they had a good time. And like I said, she was a pro at the awards presentation. She hopped right up there and put those awards on them kids' heads and give each and every one of them a great big hug.
That's cool. That's pretty cool stuff.
Well, the 12U too. The as you said, you had the St. Louis Grind and the Dirtbags. The Dirtbags went 3-0. There was no championship game there. Is that what I'm seeing here, Dave?
Well, that was the 12U was the only division that we did not play on Saturday. Okay. Unfortunately, we had all of BMAC, which is 10 fields. Okay, so when you lose 10 fields in one day, and that 12U division was started out with 12 teams, so that's kind of hard to replace 12 teams in a setting that we had with the 4 fields down in Pacific, and then the one over at CNH and the one at Westoff that we had. The 12 were kind of the odd men out. So what we did, it ended up being a really, really, really cool format. Was BMAC has that top complex in, and I talked to them. They said, well, if anything, the top north side is going to be more inclined to play, because when I drove on there Sunday morning, the bottom half, the older side, the infields were still wet. They were still, you could tell there were still some dark spots there. So those guys humped it and got the top side ready for us. There were 5 fields. We had 10 teams. So what we did, everybody played 3 games in one day. It was like a round, vicious. Once the game ended, it was like, what's that thing you play it with the kids, musical chairs? Everybody gets up and goes around till the music stops. You sit down. It was like a parade of like those canopy tents moving around from field to field after every game, because essentially all 10 teams were playing at the same time. You had 5 fields, so it worked out great.
I was thinking Chinese fire drill.
Well, that as well, It was wild the way it turned out, because on field 1 there, coming into the third game of the 3 random pool games there, what we did is we took 1 and 2 overall. On field 1, it was essentially a championship, because we had the only 2-0 teams competing on field 1 at that third time slot there.
Wow.
Dirtbags. So it worked out really good.
Yeah, Dirtbags came out on top. Dave Matz's St. Louis Grind second. SEMO Strikers. And everybody, with the exception of one team, had a win. So that's a really good 12U bracket there. And so I think that's competitive.
A lot of baseball played within that time frame, because up there on top north there at BMAC, we have to be out of there at 4:30 for adult softball, and it was good timing. We finished up just in time, and the field crew was there ready to hump it and turn them fields over for the adult softball league. So thanks to Evan and the crew up there at BMAC for accommodating us and getting us in. And I really like that format. What we did is 3 games in one day. It was a lot of baseball, and there at the end, it did get a little warm. So I think that they had enough for the day.
You had in the 10U, you had enough to get. That was the one that was out of. You had 10U out at Pacific.
Yeah, we moved that to Pacific. Here again, a team from Kansas City. So, they come out on top, the Kansas City Gators. So, a team that did go to the Cardinal game Friday night. So, we wanted to get them, everybody in games, especially so, moved them down to Pacific, and there you go. They got to complete their. They played one game on Saturday, and then finished up the pool on Sunday, and we took 1 versus 2, 3 versus 4 of that nature. So they got that into its entirety too. So
very good. And then you had the 13U out there as well, the Razorbacks. Is that that's in Indiana, Evansville, Indiana?
Evansville, Indiana. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Another example. Teams coming from here to play Game 7 in St. Louis. We definitely want to go out of our way to get everybody their games in. So, moved them down to the Pacific.
And they took home the championship, beating the St. Clair Stars. That's right over up. Actually, they were probably happy the St. Clair Stars is a little closer drive, unless that's up in Illinois.
Yeah, I think that's Illinois. I think. I'll have to check my records. Don't hold me to that. So
Swansea, Illinois. So
yeah, so a little bit further drive for them, but at least we're on a dry field.
Exactly. They took home the championship. That was a 4-2 ball game. The Razorbacks over St. Clair Stars. So that's good stuff. Dave, we're walking down through, and then the 14U. As you said, you switched it up between Westhoff and C&H. So did you have 2 separate championship games in that respect?
Yeah, we after the 2 pool games on Saturday, which we had 10 teams, 5 and 5. We took 1 through 5, took them to the gold bracket, and then 6 through 10 to the silver bracket. Where, I think gold was Gas House Basta.
Yep.
And by the way, he's playing AAA next week, everybody. So calm down. And then in the silver bracket was the Illinois Gators come out victorious on that, which is the old. They were the Maryville Redbirds last year, and if memory serves me correctly, they played the Mineral Area team, which they faced in the 2021 World Series last year. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of a rematch for them.
Was that Yates Gators team or a different Gators team?
No, Perel. It's the old Maryville Redbirds team. They switched over to the Illinois Gators this year.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and to here again, I love that, Dave. You're like, everybody calm down. But we talk about that, the Gas House Basta. They're going to have a really tough stretch there in AAA because moving up, they're going to have to take some lumps because they are a really good, really, really good AA team. And when you move up into that next level, and I know it's tough for the AA squads and whatnot, but, it'll be interesting to see, I don't know if they're staying together next year at 15U, but I don't know if they have enough, quite the depth at pitching yet to make that. And no offense, I'm not saying Dave did something wrong. That's not my point. I'm just talking about the things that we discuss on the show when it comes to these things. I know people go, oh, man, they should move up and whatnot. And I think it's the right decision. But now Coach Basta's got to take and really think about what's that next level for his team. How do they improve to be competitive in that AAA? It's a scenario, isn't it?
Well, I get to see, I obviously get to see Basta. I've played against Basta. I have the luxury of watching him play as well. So I've had him in the facility. I've played against him and watched him. His team is like you said, is really, really good. Now, what'll be interesting is when he gets to the AAA level, what sanction he decides to go play for, or what kind of event, is he going to do this more for the fall? Is he going to try to do like a 15U in the fall? But when I talk to Coach Basta, because I have a good relationship with him, this is the first thing he talks about. He goes, "I am really deep at the AA level because my back end of my arms are good enough to compete at a high level at the AA level. But they're if they pitch them on a pool play game, they might not have the same results, and they might end up in that bottom half of the bracket. He still has good players. He still has some talent on that group." So I'm excited for him. I know that he had played up in a tournament once before. I'm not sure if it was Game 7 or not. I know he played up and didn't fare so well. He's just a really good AA group.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we've had this conversation a couple times in passing with Dave and I at the ball field. He asked me about a certain team. He said, "What do you think?" I was like, "They're just really good."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They have a dude. But again, like at the end of the day, what are we there for? Boston needs to challenge his team. It's Basta's decision to challenge his group, right? It's my decision to want to compete against Basta to beat the better team in the AA level. I don't look at Boston and say he should move up. I want him to stay down so I can eventually try to beat him, And so that is the mentality that we should have as coaches, and parents should not shy away from playing a team like that and say that guy's only trophy hunting or whatever the social media likes to blast on these coaches. No. He's just really good at the level that he's playing. He's okay at the next level.
Right.
And Boston needs to choose what he needs to do with that team. He's not playing to win a trophy. He needs to make sure his boys are ready for high school baseball.
Yeah.
And he just happens to go out and win.
And I think the decisions that the tournament directors make are well within their realm to do that. And then once the tournament directors make those decisions, then it's on the coaches to take that next step. Okay, how do we get better? And I think that's the way it should work. I think he's proved himself at that AA level, right, Dave?
Well, yeah, everything that you guys said is spot on. But in Jim's defense, 2 tournaments ago, not 2 weeks ago, he did play up to 15U, where he did take second place.
Oh, that's right. He did take. Did he play 15U for you, or was this another one?
It was with Game 7.
Okay, so I saw him in O'Fallon, and we had that conversation. And I don't know if I guess he didn't play up with you on this tournament. He must have played up somewhere else, or was forced to. He said that he struggled a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe it was AAA, and I just took it. I took the information wrong. But he had told me he had gone to a tournament to play up and struggled. So clearly taking second place.
Well, second place, maybe he thinks that's struggling. I don't know.
I doubt it. I doubt it.
Hey, guys, though, I got an alert for you. Our rankings, it says ranking system, but our points are used for, purposes of free tournaments and awards and things like that, and perks, Guess, trivia question, guess who sits at number 1 in the 14U?
I would assume Gas House, but I gotta be up there because we played a lot of Game 7.
The big fella to your right.
Let's go.
I didn't even look,
baby.
Dave. I didn't even look. I was just like,
our team has been. Listen, I've looked at a lot of the 4 times points and stuff like that. No, I'm kidding. We chose to play Game 7 before I ever even did a recap show. I may have just met Dave a handful of times in passing. I think the first time I met him, my son was playing. We were out at Grand Slam Park. I had pulled him aside and said, "Hey, I'm doing that show with that guy over there, Brian something. Whatever his name is, Brian?" He's like, "Yeah, I know Brian." And we had that conversation at Grand Slam Park, and then here we are. I did not get I don't have any. People. Somebody questioned me actually a couple of weeks ago, like, "Hey, so what does Game 7 do for you?" And I was like, "I don't know. Go online and look at the same things that you get for playing in 6 tournaments or whatever." It's like that's what I get. Like I don't get special treatment from these guys, and we play it because of the things like you guys did for the Ron Walker thing, the efforts that you make with your umpires, the fields. I'm gonna miss it because I don't see a lot of older age groups, the high school age groups, and that's where I'm moving to. But I'm enjoying playing and the things that they're trying to do for us. Whether rain comes and tries to bang the tournament, they're trying to do whatever they can by moving fields, and we've had that happen to us. And so, we started where I thought I questioned whether or not I had a good team or not, and I know they're going to listen to this, but where we have started and where we're at right now are two different teams. And if you look at the last several events that we've been in, we have finished 1 or 2 seeds, the 1 or 2 seed in a pool play, and we've made it to championship games. Mm-hmm. And so, I was really looking forward to trying to compete in the World Series, but unfortunately we got banged. And I think it's a test of what they're doing over there at Game 7. That's why I like playing for them. That's why I'm going to try to encourage my youth teams next year to go over and play at Game 7. It's because of what they do. And again, I don't get a break. I get the same breaks that every other club gets when you go online and you register your number of tournaments. I didn't ask for it. I don't think that's fair or right. I get a discount because I play so many tournaments. Yeah. And so it helped our budget out to be able to actually play one more event.
There you go.
So that's why we chose Dave. But thanks for recognizing that, and I appreciate that. The team has absolutely worked its tail off to be put in that position. We talked about Titus a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
I have 3 really good arms that have been producing for me. We've been playing really good defense, and lately it's been timely walks and hitting.
And Titus Fisher, he pitched a heck of a game. That was a fun game to watch. See, you were talking about the Cardinals 1-0 game. I was having a great time calling that game between Titus Fisher. I'm trying to remember the other young man's from the Indy Clutch. Those guys pitched their butts off, and 1-0 ball game, 7 innings.
We had the bases loaded in the first inning and scored.
That's baseball. That's just baseball. It happens. And give kudos to the pitchers, right? Give kudos to the pitchers. Some days, the hitters get after you, and in youth sports, in youth baseball, you'll see a little more of that. But I think that's why I enjoy it so much in the rarity in the youth game when you see a couple of guys really dealing, taking that bump and just going and you see that extra level of the pitchers. I think it's great.
I think you're seeing that just in general, like with some of your top arms in the area, and even 10, 11, 12, 13 I have not spent a lot of time watching, but I've been around it, and I noticed the one thing about big time pitchers. They can have mistakes happen behind them. They don't stare at each other, and say, throw their arms up or ask them what they're doing or play better. They just say, hey, I'm going to get you another ground ball, or they connect and say, hey, let's turn 2. I mean, you saw that game that in the World Series that we won 1-0. We had the bases loaded in the first inning with 1 out and didn't score a run. Yeah. And I'm furious as a coach, but hats off to that pitcher for being able to get out of that without puckering. And then we have a couple errors happen back to back with nobody out, and Titus goes out and gets him out. And so to me, that just shows a lot of maturity. That's what I think is really fun about watching 14U baseball is the maturity that's happening. I mean, we're talking about growth spurts, right? We're talking about athleticism, IQ, the mental toughness and stuff like that. And that's what I liked about coaching this 14U team and seeing it in general from playing, early on against the Illinois Gators to Basta's team. Everybody's growing.
Yeah.
Mentally too. And I really, really dig that growth.
Well, and that goes back to the things that we're discussing, and that's why I think with Dave and Dave, they don't just move teams up to move teams up. Correct, Dave? It isn't arbitrary, is it?
No. At the end of the day, you still got to believe, in our philosophy, what it is that our wheelhouse is the 7U to 14U. We'll delve a little bit into the 15, 16, 17, a little bit here and there. But we understand where our wheelhouse is. And at the end of the day, it's youth baseball. And you still have to keep it fun because once you lose the fun factor, you lose your product. And by doing such, winning and losing is not everything. However, winning does help at times. And if we can keep it competitive on both sides of the dugout, and make it come out and have a chance to win each and every game, that's what our objective, that's what our goal is, to keep it competitive.
Yeah. And that's the way it should be. And I think that's the reason why, when the directors come to you and go, hey, we got to move you up, they're not moving. And especially these guys, what Dave just said there, he's not saying we're moving you up because, just you got to go up. People are complaining or this or that or something. No, it's a matter of competitive balance. You've got to, and as a coach, you got to look at that and go, okay, now it's time to challenge myself as a coach. What am I doing to help my team compete at this level, and putting yourself in that position?
You've seen it already happen. Boss has talked about it early on. You saw Culberson has moved up to AAA, and I know in the last event that we're doing, we're playing AAA. And really, when you look at that AAA tournament at the end of the year, a lot of those teams are AA groups, and so they're kind of the better of the AA teams, all moving up to play AAA. And I mean, obviously, what's the purpose? High school baseball is right around the corner for these young men, and so you have got to prepare them. Have to.
You beat me to it, Mitch.
Sorry.
You beat me to it.
Sorry.
Because I was looking ahead at the point system. You're at 1430, Boss is at 1280. And I was like, oh, shoot, I better check and make sure Mitch is in that I-70 shootout, which is the last one of the year. And lo and behold, Basta and Mitch are in there pushing their kids up to the AAA division, just like he alluded to. So that may be the tell of the tape right there. If you get the free tournament next year or not, Mitch.
Yeah, don't put me in the same pool as him, like pool games. Find us a way to get to the
right out of the box, baby. Right out of the box.
No, I don't want to end up in that position again. Titus is going. I'm throwing Titus off the bat. Actually, Titus has been my game one starter anyway. So he, we've talked about the gameplay stuff. How do you manage your pool play? And I would tell you what, I couldn't have been more lucky with what happened in the World Series for my group. I had to have a lot of things go my way to get to that 2 seed, and we got to it. And we were 1-0-1, and you had the recruits had won a big game already, and I'm thinking, okay, well, this team lost already, like big, and all of a sudden they play each other and the recruits lose, and I'm like, I have a shot. I was like, I wanted to get up to this 2 seed. I wanted to play at 11 o'clock. I wanted to have the bye. And, I was frustrated because I thought we should have won our first game. And I'm like, we just, that's our destiny. We made the bed. We got to lay in it. Let's go fight. But I was looking, and you texted me, and I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. It's out. I'm like, we're the 2 seed. But again, we faced 2 teams from Indiana, had no idea what they were about. The team that we played first, they had a ton of energy. They chattered a little excessively, but the best part about a team like that is you go out and you compete against them, and you can kind of shut them up on the ball field. So no disrespect there, but that's what our goal was, and we did it. We came back to a team that I thought swung it very well. I will say in that World Series, that's a team that probably gets pretty deep in that event because they were good. That Gamblers team.
They could swing the bat.
That was the thing, is how they swung it. They had put fear, like every swing you thought was going to get launched a mile. That Indy Clutch team that we played next, that's a 1-0 ball game. So I don't have much on them, but they beat that another team pretty handedly. Yeah. So we had a lot of things go our way. So please, whatever you do, Dave, don't put me up against Basta first game of the event. Get us to where.
Hey, dude, remember, people are watching. There's okay. No special favors here.
Yes, but that was before the last tournament of the year, and that was before I realized that I was in the lead for some points totals. Now I'm going to go ahead and just ask for it.
We'll just let Dave Schmidt do it, right?
There you go.
I'm sure they hit.
Schmidt did it. I don't know what happened. Schmidt did it.
I'm sure it's just a randomizer. There's a click of a button, and it fizzles to wherever it's going to play out.
I'm looking forward to. We just got a few things left this season, Dave. It's been a fun tournament season. Always a pleasure for having you on the show, man. Love talking baseball. Don't worry, folks. We're going to keep Dave coming back on the show. Don't worry.
Before we let go, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So I know that you're starting to release some of your fall events, and
yes.
Do you for your fall tournaments? And I know that you have the one in October. I think that may be the first one that you posted. I could be wrong, but I was kind of looking. What would you suggest your teams to do? Like, would you expect your 14s to move up to the high school level? Would the 13s need to play 14s? Is there a requirement now for the fall as the season turns over? And the reason I ask that is because softball starts in the fall for like their age groups and everything. And I know that the baseball is a little bit different. So can you have any suggestions on fall arrangements?
A great question, and thanks for bringing that to the forefront here. Our 2023 season actually starts August 1st, so it's not an option to stay back. You have to play up to the 2023 age group. So in your case, you would go online and sanction back as a 15U this year.
Gotcha. August 1.
So everything in the fall will be played at the 2023 age division. So in your case, should be 15.
I know that you have
Great question, Mitch.
The trailer that you can trail with the wheelhouse that you guys are in. What do we got to do to get some high school baseball at Game 7?
Oh, we're going to come back to that question. It's good for today.
So I'm asking not to play Basta right off the bat, and I'm asking for Happy
He's
Tuesday.
doing this on the air, dude. You got to quit begging.
I'm not.
We have some 15s. We have some 15s and 16s for you, Mitch, every weekend. Actually,
they do.
We had them after Memorial Day. We offered every weekend 15 and 16, and typically they're played over at C&H Field 1.
I need to pay
every
attention
weekend.
More is what you're saying, Dave. I was focused on my 14s and not playing Basta first round.
Yeah. And before we hop off here, I'd like to give the little guys some kudos here. The 7U McDowell Gators finished off a perfect season, if you will. In the 7U age group, they went 18-0. Total record was 18-3. They moved up to the 8U Division one weekend early. And so overall, their 7U record was 18-0. Watch out for these guys coming up.
Let's go.
That's a 7U machine pitch, man.
I tell you what, we're getting a lot of youth kids coming in. I'm really having a lot of fun watching these little kids just run around and act like goons, when they're goofballs. That's what I was gonna say. I don't know what was goons, but they come in there and they run and jump on stuff in the facility, and they were trying to jump over a tee the other day, and the kid didn't quite make it, and other boys kind of chuckling at him, and so it was. It was funny as 7-8-year-olds just in there clowning around. Ton of energy, man. I wish I had just a quarter of that.
I want to say this, too, with the McDowell. You're saying 18-0. Not only that, Dave, how many 7U machine pitch teams do you see in 3 games only give up 9 runs?
Yeah. I think our decision to go to a 4-game minimum with the 7 and 8U really helped us out immensely, because there were times last year where Dave and I looked at one another, and some of the levels they're all mixed together because it is a machine and it's all the same for everybody. There's no pitcher on the mound, so we do not separate the divisions. In some cases where we get a big number of teams, we will do it. Separate the higher and AA, AAA, if you will. But right now it's all in one age group. And last year, we kind of looked and saw that teams were coming out on Sunday and unfortunately only getting like 45 minutes of play in. And we didn't think that was fair to the teams, the coaches, or the parents to come out on a Sunday where they had set aside their whole weekend to come out and play tournament baseball. So we adapted to a 4-game minimum. And in some cases, these little guys, depending on how we format it, number of teams, they'll play 6 to 7 games in 2 days. But here again, it's a machine pitch. But it really helped our numbers. They grew drastically in the 7 and 8U machine pitch this year. So look forward to that and to stay the same in 23.
Very good. Very good. Guys, thanks as always. Great stuff. Dave Penning, great stuff always. We glad tournament wrap up for this week, the Ron Walker. We appreciate everybody joining in. And, hey, we got a couple more. We'll see what goes. We'll try and get out the I-70 showdown and see what you can do, bro.
I'm really, really, really excited for that event because of the teams that are in it, because they're teams that have won. there's a lot of teams in that division that have won a tournament, and so I think it'll really just put into perspective our season. So whether we go 0-2, 0-3, or whatever we end up, my whole goal is to go in there and compete. If I happen to win, because obviously I don't go out there to coach to lose, I want to compete because I think it gives me the direction that I need for the future. So that's my goal, and not to play Basta in pool play.
Guys,
Saturday morning, 9 a.m., right out of the box.
I'm going to text Basta right now and be like, hey, you need to call Dave up, and like, if you're going to play us, can you play us a little later?
Oh,
Just
man.
later, not 9.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. I'm sorry, man.
We're wrapping it up. Close it down.
Everybody have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and you hitters,
Hit him where they ain't.
good advice. We'll see y'all next time.
See you guys.
See
See
you,
you,
Dave.
Dave.
Have a good one.
See you, bud.